Introduction: The circularity of empires. History is defined by the rise and fall of mighty empires, each leaving behind its telltale stamp on civilization. We go through the histories of the Roman Empire, the Mongol Empire, and the British Empire, the three superpowers that dominated entire territories yet crumbled down eventually. From the incredible military tactics of Rome to the lightning-fast conquests of the Mongols and the global reach of the British Empire, we learn about what pushed them up and ultimately brought them down. 1. Rome. Blueprint for Empire. The story of Rome's expansion began during the 3rd century BCE as a republic blossomed to become a superpower empire at the height of its power. It dominated most of Europe, North Africa, and parts of the Middle East. As a city of superior infrastructure, Rome constructed an immense system of roads, aqueducts, and architectural masterpieces such as the Colosseum, which represented power and control. The military system of Rome was unmatched in its era. With legions, the Romans spread their culture and secured the borders of the empire. However, this time the collapse of Rome was initiated from within. Some factors included rampant political corruption and heavy taxes that squashed its economic base, further added an in-house element through slavery. The 5th century CE marked ravages by Germanic tribes as well as in-house conflicts, which divided the empire into the eastern and western halves, and finally called for the disintegration of the Western Roman Empire in 476 CE History Cooperative. Suspenseful detail. Imagine once great city gradually turning into a shadow of itself, streets full of ruins, people strained by crumbling infrastructure, and drums from the outside as distant as the invading forces of the end of an era. 2. The Mongol Empire, Speed and Terror. The Mongol Empire rose in the 13th century under Genghis Khan, stretching from Eastern Europe to Asia within the generation of that leader. The Mongols were known as brutal yet efficient in military strategy. Their horses allowed rapid movement and conquests that later inspired global connections through the Silk Road. Genghis Khan was a clever leader, valuing more the skill than the status, unifying nomadic tribes under a banner of strength and loyalty. However, after Genghis Khan's death, internal succession struggles had already divided up the Mongol Empire into its separate khanates. The competing factions could hardly hold their ground, and the single empire began to dissolve into parts absorbed into new big powers like Russia and the Ottoman Empire. History skills. Suspenseful detail. Envision the steppes once occupied by a united Mongol force, splintered now into mutually hostile khans, seeking to supplant one another as the ambitious empires sprouted in the periphery, waiting for an opportunity to snatch Mongol territories. 3. The British Empire, the setting sun. The British Empire, beginning as overseas colonies in the 16th century, extended over nearly a quarter of the globe at its height. Britain ruled most areas of Africa, Asia, the Americas, and the Pacific. The impetus of the Industrial Revolution had made it an economic giant, securing resources, labor, and markets. But this was mainly because of independence movements and that it became too costly to rule. Resource depletion occurred with World Wars I and II, and at its post-war peak, Britain could hardly hold on to their colonies. By mid-20th century, the independence of nations like India marked the end of Britain's rule history today. Suspenseful detail. Imagine how the once proud British fleet sailed home as countries from India to Africa declared their independence, each one claiming that they had a right to self-rule and that the end of the empire upon which the sun never set was nigh. The patterns and lessons of empire decline. Though the causes of every empire's collapse are unique, constant motifs include economic strain, internal division, and overextension. Political instability in Rome, succession crises within the Mongols, and Britain's resource drain all remind us that the greatest civilizations are not immune to collapse. Conclusion: why do empires fall? These empires rose in strength, ambition, and innovative conception, but eventually succumbed to inevitable decline. From the Roman fortified cities of their time to the Mongol Empire's vast reach and the British colonial network, would today's global superpowers prove to fall into such cycles?